the fact that they gave us this third set of objects, that was a total surprise. And I honestly love them from the moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so fun to have
Right.
all these modern objects that we're looking for. I mean, it really shook me because I'm very, used to the fact that we get the first board and then we get at the second play of the
Welcome back to the Sunny Reed Seeker's Notes podcast series. This is our third episode, and I'm thrilled to be joined once again by the always insightful and endlessly dedicated Catherine, a treasured voice in the Seeker's Notes community.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Sunny. I'm so excited to be back again. It's just really awesome to get to talk to you. You ask the best questions.
Thank you. Today, we'll be diving into the brand new art gallery location, the beautifully updated Treehouse, and wrapping up the wildly creative off-script event. So whether you're relaxing or getting through your daily quests, feel free to grab your game, jump into Darkwood, and enjoy this discussion as we explore Seeker's Notes' latest mysteries. Let's get started. So, Catherine, how are you, first of all?
Oh, I'm doing excellent. I'm enjoying some very delicious hot weather here in Texas. I love the summer. It's my favorite season.
Wonderful. And of course, you know that as soon as I saw the art gallery location, I thought of you.
I know. I was so thrilled that we got something that's right in my wheelhouse.
So let me ask you the very first question. What are or what were your first impressions when you saw the new art gallery?
I truly loved it. I'm always a little bit nervous because sometimes Seeker's Notes will say we're getting a location and we'll get the name or the theme. And then when we get it, it's like, it's okay, but it doesn't really fulfill the theme or there might be other issues. So, I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds wonderful. But then when I opened it up, it was just breathtaking. I mean, the Rococo Baroque sort of interiors and the color. And I mean, really, it's more like a museum than an art gallery, but since we already have a museum, art gallery is a fine name for it and works just fine. I thought the variety of pictures on the wall, like different, they, really made an effort to have traditional portraits and then I have a minor in art history, and I love studying art and I go to museums all the time. So, I mean, I just really noticed that they put a lot of effort into like having something that's sort of like an impressionist and something a little more modern and, really good job.
The gold rimmed frames.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Very, very museum like.
So, did it live up to your expectations in terms of design, mood, and creativity?
It truly did. And I don't just say that lightly because as anyone who's paid attention to anything I write or do on Facebook, I pretty much give my honest opinion about things and I don't sugarcoat things really. So if I say that it did, I really mean it. I thought they did just an amazing job with this location and I love it so much.
So, let me ask if there were any specific details, paintings, lighting. I love the lighting, by the way, the layout, anything that stood out to you during your gameplay.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I mean, I was very impressed, that they have sculpture and paintings, and then they also, if it's between the objects and, but also what they put in there, like they have glass cases with history things. That's just, I'm so glad I thought of saying that. That was the first thing I thought of that was just making my heart sing so much. It's like we get in there and you see like the original jewelry box that we all started with. And then you saw like there's a big sort of version of one of the jewelry boxes off to the left. And some of it is like if you're a newer player to the game, you might not realize some of these details. But having played the game as long as I have, I just was so enthralled and over the moon about that, like the objects of like the briefcase from the desktop.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just seeing things like as you go more and more, and just that you're finding stuff like a magnifying glass, which we used to have before the precise arrows. And I don't know, I'd have to think about it, but there's just so much stuff like that were like really nice little Easter eggs for people who are long-term fans of the game.
Right. How does the art gallery compare to other locations in terms of difficulty and object placement?
I definitely think it's still challenging as most of their new ones are, but I think it's for me anyways, I didn't find it as challenging, say like Mount Olympus, which I found really, really challenging and very frustrating sometimes. Whereas this one I'm not getting that. And it may just be sometimes I do notice that, especially as I've gone through writing reviews and thinking about locations more, that liking and being happy with what you're looking for and being in the location can definitely sort of ease the challenge. But then if there's something challenging and you already don't like being there, then it just sort of exacerbates it. So, but my opinion is this is definitely it's challenging, but it's not too bad at all.
So that leads me to my next question, which was more about there being a particular puzzle or challenge in the gallery that made you pause or smile. But let me add this, um, the mode. Was there a particular mode that made you
No,
pause?
no, my answer to this question isn't a puzzle challenge or mode, but it's the fact that they gave us this third set of objects. That was a total surprise. And I honestly love them from the moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so fun to have
Yeah.
all these modern objects that we're looking for. I mean, it really shook me because I'm very, used to the fact that we get the first board and then we get at the second play of the connoisseur level, we'll get the new board. And so I'm like always ready for that. And the fact that all of a sudden we got a second board much earlier in the amateur level. And then when we got to that second level of the connoisseur, we got a third. And I even went on Facebook and posted about it because I was like, oh my gosh, are we getting more than three sets of objects? And people were like laughing and saying, no, no. And then, okay, so that in of itself I loved. But then when Seeker's Notes posted that terrific post explaining what all of the items were in the third board and how each one of
Yes.
them was really personal and specific to the developers. Oh my gosh, that just practically made me cry. And I already loved that set of objects, but then it just made me love them so much more. That there's a picture of the MYTONA office, that there's a keyboard from the music composers, that there's a graphic
Yes.
tablet and coffee cups because they all drink a lot of coffee and the seeker plushie. I mean, just everything in that third set is just such a thrill. Oh, and their cats and their pug. I mean, oh my gosh, every single item in that third set just brings me so much joy.
This was not a question that I prepared for you, but it's been on my mind. As soon as I saw the laptop, I immediately thought about you and
Mm.
our previous conversation where I think someone had referenced or mentioned there might not be a microwave oven, there couldn't be one in Darkwood, and there's this laptop, and I just started laughing and thought of you. What did you think about when you saw the laptop?
Well, I mean, the theme of this whole anniversary special is time travel. So nothing, that was such a brilliant idea, whoever thought of that. I mean, just absolutely brilliant because it allowed them to do so many cool and unique things. And I think for me personally, but I think a lot of other members too, based on what I read on Facebook, really like the idea of having something new and different that we haven't seen before. And this really created a matrix where they could bring in all these unusual items that we wouldn't normally get to search for. And, I think it'll mostly stay within this time. I don't anticipate it to keep going. But that's good because, we can come back to this location now anytime and kind of have all these fun items to search for. But, maybe just go back to the normal steampunk dark wood that we're used to. But the thing about the microwave, it was a sound, and they even don't have it anymore, but it was a sound you used to hear in the fall house. And I associate that, that's a Thanksgiving location for people who celebrate Thanksgiving. And I just always associated that that was the sound of like part of the dinner preparations, and that's probably why they added it in. But maybe at some point they removed it because somebody realized it was anachronistic. But I clearly remember it.
Now, if you could display one personal item in the
Uh,
Secret Art Gallery, what would that be?
Oh my gosh, I love this question so much. So I just thought and thought about it, and I thought, okay, well, if I was like creating items to go in that third set, that what you would hide and have to find, I could pick Tupperware bowls, a bottle of scotch, maybe some crystals, all things that I have in abundance in my house. But if I was going to display something in the museum, then of course it would have to be a piece of art that was personal to me. And I have lots of art in my house. And so I looked around, and lots of the art that I have, I know the artists, and I have lots of stuff that I've just bought at shows and things. So I have a lot of original artwork, but honestly, my mom painted me a picture of Scottish landscape as a surprise for my Christmas, one of my Christmas presents this last year. And I just really thought that was so thoughtful and caring of her because she knows how much I love Scotland. And so I'd probably pick that because it's really super sentimental.
Very nice. Now let's carry on and move over to the treehouse, which has had quite the transformation. What was your first reaction to the redesign?
My very first reaction was happiness. I'm so happy that the lovely designers are so willing to listen to the players, and it is just really heartwarming and just so full of gratitude and happiness that they improved it for us.
How would you describe the new vibe? Whimsical, cozy, something else?
I don't think it has changed enough to change the vibe. I've always thought that the treehouse was whimsical, and I think the changes are just fairly subtle. And I've always thought that the treehouse was a nice location. It just was so hard, I hardly ever went.
Yes.
And so I haven't actually had a chance to visit it much, but since you asked me these questions, I made sure to play it. So it was a little bit fresher in my mind.
Since replaying, did you find any features from the original treehouse you were glad they kept?
I think it's really, really good that they didn't change it too much. I think a lot of players, and myself included, it's very disconcerting when they change locations at all. So it's definitely a delicate balance to make it better, but change, to change it enough to make it better, but to not change it so much that it throws everybody off. So I think overall, the treehouse is just improved, better contrast and a little more brighter colors and brighter lighting, but not, they didn't really redesign it too much. So that's awesome.
Right. And then, so again, this next question might be redundant, but the improvements really stood out to me. Did they stand out to you in this new updated version?
I think the one that I could pick the most to tell you about is the kite, because the kite used to be brown and it was really hard to find. It was actually one of the hardest objects to find. It would blend into the wall or the shadows so much. And now the kite has like rainbow colors. And even though it's pastel and it's still kind of muted, because nothing in the treehouse location is super bright. But there's just more color, and they just brought the color scale up a little bit, and the color and the lighting. So, anyways, the kite's my answer to that question.
So has the updated treehouse earned a higher place in your rankings now?
Almost certainly, but I think there's no way it could stay as low as it is, because right now it's like almost the lowest thing in the worst, and I think it'll definitely come out of the worst list.
Any memorable moments or little secrets you've discovered since this revamp?
No, I have to say I've only played it a few times since it's happening, because I mean there's always so much to do in the event, and
Yes.
this month seems like much even more than usual because we have the off script, and because we have that, and we'll get to talking about that. I've been doing more of the side events to earn tokens. I don't always do a lot of the side events because it does get to be ridiculous sometimes to be on Seeker's Notes 2 or 3 hours a day. It's like that's a little bit over the top.
So that is leading to our next question. We're going to do a quick curtain call here. What did you enjoy most, or what do you enjoy most about the recent off-script event?
I think um it's kind of a tie. I guess I would say my first thing that I love the most is that they have designed it to be accessible to everyone who plays by making it last a really long time.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times people would be interested in playing some of the side quests and events, but a lot of them only last a couple days. So if you're not a daily player and maybe you only have time to play on the weekends, or can only play a little bit at night after work or something, it can be hard to take part in a lot of the extras that they offer. So this, I was really heartwarmed that they made it last 60 days and they made it super accessible where you could earn the prizes without having to spend money or maybe not a lot, use up a lot of resources just through, even just playing the main event, you're earning tokens every time. But I also think that the gifts that they are giving, the bundles, they're very generous gifts. And
Yes.
again, I think for people who love to play this game, but maybe don't have time or money to spend on it the way they'd like to, this is an opportunity where they could get a cool frame or a cool background because the backgrounds are often very, very expensive. I'm not sure why, but to get the background for your when your profile comes up, it's usually a very costly thing. So to have an opportunity to earn up to three different ones that you could switch between by taking part in this event, I thought was extremely generous and wonderful to the fans.
I think you answered my next question because I was going to ask if there was anything that stood out as particularly fun or surprising. But do any of the characters? What do you think of Mary the Mouse?
She's very cute.
She is.
What I put down for this one is that I liked very much that we've had quests in the actual locations to find something for her. I thought that was very clever and great because I do feel like sometimes with the quests, they're very random, and as is, I understand. I live in the real world. I know this is just a game, but when they can engineer like a quest to actually go to a location that makes sense for the quest, and then in this one you're specifically finding things that belong to Maria. At so far for me, the train and the depths, I haven't gone past those yet. That is very fun, and I love that part the best.
Me too. I think one of the first parts was to find her backpack. That was
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah, and it made sense to go to the train. I mean, I thought like locating the backpack on the train was sensible, and then I thought the idea that her phone had fallen into the water and you had to find it in the depths, and
Yeah.
then it was like affected by the water. I thought all that I was very pleased and happy with because it was very integrative and consistent.
Yes. Were there any items, designs, or puzzles, or even a theme from the off script that you'd love to see added permanently?
Not really. I think the charm of this event is that it's kind of this once in 10 year, very big special thing for a celebration.
Yes.
And like, I mean, it is nice that you can get so many things, but I think if we had it a lot, then it would maybe make it less special. I'm not saying we should only have something like this every 10 years, but I definitely think to have it tied to something like the anniversary or a milestone anniversary makes it a lot more special.
I agree. How did the pacing and reward structure of off script compare to past events?
I think it's great, as I mentioned, that you can go a lot slower and still have the opportunity to win, and that there isn't a time like that. If you're someone who can only play a couple days a week or whatever, you still can earn some of the prizes and they're not going to go away. As you earn tokens and do things, you can work on getting it. And I think that's great.
Now, if you had to describe off script in 3 words, Catherine, what would they be?
Honoring the fans. I really think that was like this is the nicest part about this is that they wanted to create a way that all people who play the game could be involved at whatever skill level, time, wealth that anyone had. They could participate in it, and that they're very generous in what they're giving people. I think the gifts are extremely generous.
And that, of course, leads us to our segment to talk about Marina Torokhova and my recent discussion with her. Because she did mention that the off script event, when they brainstormed, they really wanted to thank the community.
Yeah.
So, my question to you is in the YouTube comments on that interview, I noticed that you had mentioned I guess loving the game or the interview.
Oh, I really did. And I actually watched it twice in a row, like the first time when it first came out. And because there was so much, and it's like the first time through, I was just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then I was like, okay, I need to slow down, take a breath, and kind of watch this again and pay more attention. And then I actually just watched it again yesterday, in preparation for talking to you today and looking at these questions. So I would say that my favorite part about it was getting to see actual pictures of MYTONA, the building, and inside the office, like getting to see that they have that giant mural of the characters. It's so cool. Like I think if any of us ever got to go to the MYTONA office and we walked in, we'd probably start crying when we saw
It's so true. I thought the same. Oh my
them.
goodness.
And I'd love to see more of that. I love that they've shown us so much of what they're doing and who they are and what they really look like. That has just been awesome.
Now, was there a specific moment in Marina's off script that felt like a peak Seeker's Notes moment for you?
Yes, I think definitely when she was answering the questions and getting to know that they I mean, of course, as we've already discussed, they're very good about listening to feedback and listening to what we have to say. And I love that they are actually, it does seem like they're finally actually considering revising or eliminating or doing something with these old rewards that are very arcane, where you're having to only get fixers from chests. I mean, people have commented on that a lot. I've left a lot, and she seemed to indicate that there was some movement towards changing that. So that was exciting. And then also the preview about the Halloween, because Halloween is one of my favorites.
Oh, I'm
And
so excited for
I
that.
know, I know. So both of those were extremely exciting.
If you could co-create an event with Marina, what kind of story or location would you want to bring to life?
Oh my gosh, I love this question so much. I feel like they come up with so many great locations and they really are listening to our requests for more variety. I mean, we just found out that we're going to have this African themed, Savannah themed location, and that is super exciting and very different. And the avatars are so gorgeous. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And so in my own self, so I've been trying to think about like what would I really, really like if I got to like have my way and pick anything. And I think of all the things I've read on Facebook and talked about with other members, the thing that really intrigues me the most is how we could have locations that were related to other locations. I think this is a very satisfying thing, like when you read books, a series of books like Harry Potter, or watch a series on TV, and like after, you get to a certain point and all of a sudden something happens and your brain kind of boomerangs back to the foreshadowing of it, and you go, oh my god, that's why this happened. And it's just such a satisfying thing as humans. And so it's not exactly that, but it's sort of the same idea. Like if the main thing that pops to mind is like there's a bakery in the Frosty Alley, so it's like, wouldn't it be cool if then we had that bakery as a location, and then from the bakery you could see some elements of the Frosty Alley
Yes.
and stuff like that. That's what I think I would want to help or would come up with ideas for if they ask me. Because, like, I've been convinced for years, even though they're not located next to each other really on the map, but I think that the boudoir is a room off of the pool. Like, I think if you go to the pool and then when you're done swimming, you can go into the boudoir. That's what I think, because that same little Maltese dog is there, and then the macarons are the same that are there. And I think there might be one or two other items. And I just totally feel like after you're done swimming, you might come in and like dry off and put on a silky robe and just sit in there and do your makeup at that beautiful table. I don't know. This is just the way my mind works, is I made a connection between those places. And so it's just stuff like that. Like we could go inside the mansion and in the mansion location, which is really more of like the garden party, or a lot of the locations that have like the mayor's house has an outside part, but could we go inside and see inside the mayor's house or something like that? So
That actually does sound very interesting and fascinating.
yeah, and I would say that the other part about it is that I mean it's I know sometimes people love new things, but I think it would make the game richer to widen and give more depth to the characters that we have. Like when we found out that the cozy house was the blacksmith's house, and you just kind of could imagine, like, oh my gosh, what a great place where his wife must cook all this delicious food for them, and they have this really beautiful life. And and so just having more places, I know some of the other places are connected to the characters, but they don't really embellish that as much. Sometimes it's just there for one event or one quest, and then you don't really come back to it. And so I think that rather than constantly creating new characters, just to spend time and really flesh out the characters more through their connections to locations would make the game even richer than it is. And it's a very rich game.
So now let's kind of step into your location rankings a little bit, if there's been any changes. For example, have either the art gallery or the revamped treehouse made it into your rankings list yet?
So you had asked me also how often I'm going to revisit and update the rankings, and so let me just answer that first and say that I think I'm just going to do it once a year because these are a lot of work,
Yes.
and it's like right now having committed to posting all of the locations, and I'm more than halfway through. But I'm enjoying it tremendously. But once I get them all posted, I'm going to be very happy too that I've met that challenge. And and also as far as like the new locations go, I mean, I really think, to be fair, even though I did kind of let the Sphinx Hall sneak in, but I did really love the Sphinx Hall so much. And I did know it was going to be on the better list. And the art gallery will be on, I mean, excuse me, on the best list. And I know the art gallery will be on the best list too. But I'm not going to work on revising or adding the new locations in until next summer. I am going to be in Scotland next July with my group, so probably I'll aim to have it revised in June, just kind of thinking about the anniversary next year. And if I continue to do it, it'll just probably be something connected to Founders Day and the anniversary. And that way it gives me time to play the locations and really have a feel for them, not just in the excitement of the new event. I think it'll just give a little bit more structure to have like all the new locations that were added since the last year and how they fall, and then what else gets revised.
So it sounds like you've answered all the questions I've had about location rankings pretty much. And no, I appreciate that. Uh,
Well, I do have one other thing I did write down, which is that you said, have any recent updates change your opinion or of older locations? And I would definitely say yes. I already see that my opinion has changed a lot because of the conversations with people on Facebook, getting to read what people, locations I don't like, but then other people really like them, and then they tell me why they like them. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute, but that has helped. And that but also, to be honest, I mean, we have a ton of locations, and you just can't really get to all of them with the same amount. But having spent time like reading the wiki post about it, reading the history, going back and looking at the event, the avatars, the jewelry boxes associated with each of the events, and going back and playing them before I do the review, it just definitely is like, oh, I put this here on the list, but I think next time it's going to probably improve because
mhm.
maybe I didn't give it a chance or whatever. And so I definitely think there will be some movement, especially just based on the fact that I'm studying them a little bit more, and other people are influencing me.
Well, thanks to you, I'm playing the Illusion Hall a lot more and the Grotto. Thank you. Any spicy debates that you'd like to settle in regards to your rankings? from other players?
So I actually love to hear opposing opinions to mine. It really was one of my goals in doing this. It's really helpful to understand the locations through other people's eyes. Penny often disagrees with me, and also my friend Scott Sherman, he does too. And then they give me their reasonings and a good description of why they love or dislike something that I love or dislike differently. And it's very helpful. And I like it. I mean, I love everyone's participation in my posts, but especially if people don't like it or excuse me, don't like it, yes, but also if they disagree with me and then they explain why, that is my favorite thing because that's what I want. Like, I want it to be like I wanted the post to be a place where everyone who loves Seeker's Notes could go in and talk about this specific location and have just like a little location where there could be some discussion about it. So I don't really have anything spicy for you, but I will say like Scott really he tends to like the sort of darker aspect of the game that is I think has definitely shifted away from when it first started and he misses that and then he's a big connoisseur of how they do the lighting and I honestly never paid attention to the lighting in the game that much except to say that it's bright or dark but
Yeah.
he's like brought to my attention that they actually like concentrate sometimes in the older locations on a specific light source or something and he feels like they've moved away from that for example so that's just an example of some of the conversations we've had.
So, in regards to the Facebook community and some of the negative posts you've seen, or at least responses or comments, how do you go about responding if you do respond, and how do you manage that? Because there's always a question about the social media community, which I kind of have an aversion to myself, and you know why.
Yeah, I think it's just a part of being a human and then people can feel very protected to like be in hidden behind their screens and feeling like they can say things and I just think it's important to always assume love and kindness as much as possible
Yes.
but I do think but I'm certainly I mean anybody that has paid attention to what I post I am not all unicorns and butterflies. I definitely will speak my opinion about things, and I don't love everything about Seeker's Notes. But, if someone posts something that it seems like they very obviously want to engage with me in a very negative way, I will just try to figure out a way to ask them about like what they're posting. Like I had a person one time ask like why was I posting all these things? Was I just trying to get more posts? And I thought that question was just so strange. And so I just said maybe a little bit with my tongue in my cheek, but I just said, well, this is a post and posts don't generally get more posts. Your question is sort of like a Zen cone. And that person really didn't come back again. And I mean, I didn't think at all that I was rude, but it's just and sometimes if people are extremely rude, the best thing you can do is just ignore them
Yeah.
because they're just trying to engage you in a rude way. But I think honestly, I've been pretty impressed with I'd say about 97 to 98% of what happens on the Facebook page for Seekers Note is pretty awesome.
Yes, I always say there's always one. There's usually always one person that'll have to be Mr. or Mrs. Wise guy, or they'll make a rude comment. And let me ask you this: when Seeker's Notes posts their, I guess their crosswords or their puzzles or little contests, how do you feel about those who put the answers up? And you know that you want to try, do you take the answers that they give, or do you make an attempt at answering or trying to complete the puzzle or the crossword?
Um, I haven't tried to do any of the puzzles. That is that's a very interesting question. I think that people should be more circumspect about doing that. I was very grateful during the bingo thing that people were willing to summarize it because to be honest with you, I didn't really feel like Seeker's Note handled that as well as they should have. I felt like the instructions were not very clear. But on the other side, I also felt like too many people were not like making the effort to go seek out the information that was available to them. Because, to be honest, you can just go on the Facebook page and just ask for help and people will be willing to help you all the time.
True.
So then it just does make it like a little less motivating. So that's a pretty tricky one. I think we all live busy lives, and sometimes it's just nice to have that little hack where you can
Yes.
get the little prize or something without having to go through it. But I do agree that I love puzzles, and I'm sure many of people who play these games love puzzles, and that we would appreciate it sometimes if people wouldn't jump in and give all the answers right away. Maybe there could be sort of like a grace period that we'd all agree to, like 3 days or something before you start posting. And just like, when a movie comes out, everyone sort of has a general cultural feeling about not spoiling the movie for everyone until it's been out for a while.
Well, I don't know. I kind of get the feeling that Seeker's Notes doesn't mind the answers being posted immediately after they've created the post, because I'm I'm under the impression that comments could be disabled, and then we could go out and for those of us who do have the time, and as of late, I haven't had much time, but we could complete the puzzle or the crossword and then come back after, as you've mentioned, a set period of time. But I do find it sometimes I'll just scroll enough to see what the question is and not look at the answers because I want to go and embrace that challenge myself. But
Yeah.
I
I definitely agree. I think it's tricky though, Sunny, because I mean, if they disable the comments, it could be for the all the right reasons we're talking about, but then that sort of creates a sort of vibration and a feeling that when people have comments disabled, I think it just can get you a little bit like, "Ooh, why have they done that? Why are they doing this?"
to complete the puzzle. And
Well,
then
yes, but I think, people would misinterpret it. So I think they're very sensitive to that, and they sort of just err on the side of tolerance most of the time. I mean, I think all the time they do. They're
right.
extremely tolerant and, very rarely step in or say anything, just kind of let us self-govern. But I'm just saying that as a group, we could have sort of a, hey, let's not post the answers for a few days here, everybody.
Yes, yes. And so now you didn't embrace the bingo challenge? I
Oh,
know
I did.
I
Oh, I did. I just, but I thought it was hard. It was very hard that you couldn't have a way to know like what you completed, because some of them were some of them like tapping that, the symbol 10 times, to have it change. I mean, you could be confused if you had done it enough because you didn't have proof. There wasn't like a way that you could go keep track of your own things, what you've done. And when people would post about that on the Facebook page, I would agree with them that if you're trying really hard and you thought you did everything and you still don't have the medal, well, at that point, is it a glitch? Like, have you actually done everything and somehow you need to report it to MYTONA? Or have you not actually done everything, but you don't realize it because there wasn't an actual list? So once some people posted like lists of things to go through, then I thought that was super helpful because then you could go through systematically and say, okay, I did this, did this, did this. Oh, yeah, there it is. I must have forgot something. Like I think for me, I got to the point where I thought I had done the treasure box puzzle 10 times, but I must not have. And that was, I think, the last thing when I kept thinking, why haven't I gotten this yet? And then I did that. I was like, oh, there we go. Oh no, I know what it was. You had to not only do it, but you had to back out of the game and come back in. And that was a piece that I didn't realize. I'm sure I've played this more than 10 times now. Why isn't it changed? And then it came back. And then like it came when I logged in and I was like, oh, okay.
do you use the in-game support if you're faced with technical challenges?
I have found that the best way to get help these days seems to be through Messenger. That's what they have kind of more or less said, here and there. And that seems to be my best way. To be honest, over the years, sometimes I've gotten very, very frustrating interchanges with people when I've tried to email support. Sometimes people who would answer those emails would be really great. And then sometimes they wouldn't know. They would literally give like wrong information. And I'd be like, no, I know this is not correct what you're telling me. I've been playing this game long enough. Please ask your supervisor. And of course, then they just give you these very pat formulaic answers. And I feel like once you get to Facebook and you're like more involved in this group, then it's easier because you can also get so much help from everybody. And that when you do have a specific problem, I've used it in through the support, but I don't really like going through that way because there's too many gates that they have where you have to cross through where you're not actually able to just go in and say directly what's wrong.
Really? I mean, okay, first of all, let me back up a second. You said you like to go into Messenger. You're referencing Facebook Messenger.
Right, with Seeker's Notes. So
Okay,
you message Seeker's Notes directly.
okay. They're quite responsive there, I find, but I
Yes.
feel I feel like I don't want to bother them with my in-game issues. I didn't know that you could message them about your in-game issues right there on Facebook. I like to use the in-game chat. They're very quick at responding, at least for me, and they're usually very good at remediating my issues very quickly. I was quite surprised with a problem I had last weekend, and within 24 hours it was solved. So I was just curious to find out.
Yeah, they've been great. I mean, once I started chatting with them through Facebook Messenger, through their web page, their page, their Seekers Notes page, I found them to be extremely helpful and responsive. Yeah, like I thought that I didn't get some of the prizes for some reason in AA this time, but I just must have had a senior moment because I forgot how it went. Because I was thinking we were getting like the next vanishing items, and I forgot. And they're very kindly, they're like, no, our records show that on this date you got this. And I was like kind of embarrassed. I'm like, oh geez, I'm so sorry. Thanks.
Oh, whoops, sorry, guys. So as we wrap up, it's been great talking with you again, Catherine. Thanks so much. Question for you. After a long Seeker's Note session, are you more of a tea person or a post-puzzle whiskey fan?
Oh, this made me laugh so hard. No, I definitely don't drink and play Seeker's Notes. Whiskey is not compatible with Seeker's Notes. I need to have all of my facilities and concentration. And so no, I usually just drink a big glass of water all the time while I'm playing to help make sure I'm staying hydrated and that my brain has all the lubrication it needs to work well because it can be quite challenging. It's also why I don't tend to listen to any sounds mostly except with AA you do need to sound cues a lot with that when you're playing that 3 game because it goes so
Yeah,
fast.
yes. Oh,
But
I've never asked you. I should kind of insert that here, right here. Do you listen with sound, music, no music, sound? How do you like to play Seeker's Notes? Just
pretty
curious.
much silent, but sometimes
Really?
yeah, but almost never music. In fact, I've listened to almost none of music because I really don't care for it, but it also is extremely distracting for me. And then people have posted like, "Oh, don't you love the song in this?" Like someone said in the conservatory post, "Oh my God, the music is so great in the conservatory. I come back and listen and play it just to hear the music." So then I was like, well, after people started mentioning that, I think Roxana Kali, she really likes the music and she's mentioned it a few times. And so I was like, okay, well now thanks to these comments, I need to go and listen to it. So now I try to make an effort to at least hear the music one time, but I
Yeah.
find it extremely distracting. Like I cannot like focus, do really well and get through the board super fast because if I'm trying to listen to the music, then I'm getting distracted. And then I find that the other sounds like the bloop when you find the object, it sort of contrasts with it. So no, and I don't know. I mean, maybe this isn't a I mean, I don't mean any disrespect at all to the wonderful people who create the music, but up until this anniversary event, I didn't even know that there were actual people that made the music. I just figured that was AI or computer generated music, so I feel really bad. But I'm also terrible because I don't listen to the music that much. So it's given me a new appreciation to not only know that other people love it, but also to have seen in the video. I think it was the Seeker's Note. It was in the post about the objects in the art gallery and that the keyboard is actually related to the composer. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's actual composers of the music. That's really cool to know.
As a musician, I can tell you I love the music. I
Hmm.
absolutely love the music, but like you, I find it distracting when playing sometimes. So if I'm whipping through a favorite location, I will play the music. And there's a few locations that have similar music that I thoroughly enjoy. I just absolutely love the music at the mill, which is similar to some other locations, but that might reveal my Seekers Knows quiz questions.
Well, I'll go and listen to that then. I can't, like I said, I don't do it very often, but I've been trying to be like going through at least one time and listening to it or turning it on a little bit. So I'll definitely go to listen to the mill.
But when I'm not listening with music, Catherine, I definitely have to have sound effects. For some reason, it gets my adrenaline rushing when I get the sound effects. I need to hear that I found that object. Do you know what I mean? And I need to hear when that 30 seconds is coming up. I don't panic, I calm down, but at least I know that, okay, time's up. You're not going to be relaxing too much longer at this location, Sonny. Let's get going here, you know?
Well, so often I'm playing in an atmosphere though when I can't, really have sound. So I think too, I just over the years, I don't want to disturb my husband or we're watching TV or I'm playing in bed at night and he's already asleep.
Or
So
sitting in church. Can you imagine being at church? You're playing Seekers? Oh my gosh. Oh, that's too
that
fun.
would be hard because people could see over your shoulder what you were doing.
But some super fans don't care. Lord, I've got to go to this next location. Sorry, everyone. Anyway. Oh dear, this has been so much fun. As we continue to wrap up, I know we got personal, up close and personal in our last session. Can you recommend one of your favorite American whiskeys or scotches for
That was so sweet of you to ask me this question. I would like to tell you about Nian Scotch, which is a fairly new distillery. It's owned and founded by a woman, and she converted her parents' farm in far west Scotland into a B Corp certified, very environmentally conscious, all organic distillery. And when I first heard about this, I was just over the moon about like her passion and how much she loves the environment and being really good steward. And I just was like all in, and I convinced people in my club to buy a cask to help, boost their business. So we invested in a cask that's aging there. And then I had never tried the whiskey. And then it wasn't in the US at that point. And then when I was in London in 2022, I got to try it for the first time and it was so good. And I was like, oh, thank God, because I have this huge cask of whiskey and I would be really crushed if the whiskey wasn't good, but it's awesome. So the one that you can probably find the most is called the organic. That's the core base level offering from them. Nuclean is spelled NC apostrophe NEAN. And it means it's kind of it's a Celtic goddess name. And the long spelling of it is looks very Celtic, but the way you pronounce it is Nuclean. And so they just kind of give this easier to pronounce name to it. And she's a nature goddess, and it really fits in, with she was always someone who went her own way and forged her own path. And that was definitely what Nuclean is doing. And the bottles are very gorgeous. They have flowers all over them. Anyway, I could talk about them for hours. They're fantastic distillery, and I encourage people to seek them out. They also have they have a lot of limited edition single casks and so forth, but they have a yearly limited edition called the Huntress. And so I'd say besides the organic, any of the Huntress ones are worth seeking out and buying.
I might have to give Marina a little nudge and ask her to put a Scottish distillery in Dargo just for you. That was
Oh,
very interesting.
that would be amazing to have a distillery. Yeah, that would be cool. That's a good idea. And have it be an actual distillery because like the winery is gorgeous. It's actually one of my most favorite locations, but It's more like a wine tasting room.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree.
So, a whiskey distillery would be great to actually see the copper stills and the mash tuns and all the equipment that's there.
Totally agree. Outside of, I think you kind of answered my next question with the answer you just gave about the American whiskeys and scotches. And I'll do a quick search to see if I can find the bottle that you're referencing so we can put it up on the screen. Um, Outside of Seeker's Notes, are there any other games or projects you're currently enjoying? I know you're going to Scotland.
Yeah, that was my answer is that right now, I mean, most of my time is focused on that. The gala's gonna start amping up pretty soon. We're still finalizing our contracts with the hotel. So in the meantime, I'm getting people committed to going to Scotland next year because Scotland is a very small country, and then when we're going to places where they make the whiskey, they're very small towns, and so the accommodations are limited. And taking a group of 8 to 12 people, you definitely need to like get in and get your reservations if you want the best locations. So in this world that we live in, people are very unused to anymore having to make plans this far in advance. But I'm like, trust me, you'll be glad that you have me doing this for you.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree. I've been living out of my suitcase these last few months, and I'm telling you, if I haven't been the OCD organized type of personality, I don't know how I'd manage. So
Agreed, same. I think that all the time, and I'm just like, sometimes in the group they call me the Scotch mother, and I very much live up to that.
and finally, what's next for you in the world of Seeker's Notes? Have you won the Storykeeper's famous white trophy? Is
Oh
it?
my gosh, it's so interesting that you asked me that today because I made a decision to go ahead and use up a bunch of my wild cards this morning and did actually do that for the first time ever. And I don't really like that event that much, but I have been playing it all this time just casually as I'm doing the other things. So I had quite a backlog. And because it was the anniversary and I liked that picture, I thought, oh, what the heck, I'll just spend a bunch of my and I've been debating it because a lot of people online talk about the fact that you get the daily rewards. And so if you're going to do that, it might have made more sense to do that a few days sooner because now I only have a few days to collect the rewards, the rubies. But anyways, it is what it is. Because it's, you're to me, I'm like, well, maybe I'll get another new card, or maybe I'll get another new card, and it takes so long to get the new cards. So yeah, I did that. But as far as like writing projects, I really, I'm as you can tell, I'm a very thoughtful person. I don't do anything just lightly or frivolously. And I want to think very carefully about how I'll present anything. As first and foremost, I am a huge fan, and I'm very impressed and awed by the amazing work everyone at MYTONA does. In my own life, I'm constantly working on myself, looking for ways to improve, and so it's my nature to approach life that way. So, when I'm, writing suggestions or feedback or whatever, it's not coming from a place of dislike or negativity at all. It's just coming from a place of just adoring this world and this game so much and just trying to see the places that it could be smoother and easier and make more sense. So, I mean, I have a lot of ideas about talismans and rewards or renovating old and outdated parts of the game. So I don't know, once I'm done with this writing project with the locations, if I'll take on another big project like this, I'll probably have to like let it rest for a little while and then come back to it. Maybe in another podcast, I'll have some news for you.
I noticed that post this morning about and I saw your comment and I thought, you know what, I got to get off of Facebook right now. I've got to go. But I did see the post about the talisman that gives you or that allows you to play premium locations.
The magic ring, someone posted like,
That's
why
it.
do, yeah, why do we even have this? I think Ernest Ward posted it and he said, He's like, why do we even have this? Because it's kind of a silly talisman. I mean, it reduces the access passes by one and it's good for 20 minutes. And so I mean, we have so many much better talismans. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people are like, yeah, it's good for when you need to like waste a bunch of talismans for a Guardian Quest challenge, but I don't know. I'm just like, I never have trouble really finding talismans to use for those challenges because there's always something you can go in and play. I just think it could be, there's so many that could be better. I don't think sometimes that they think through like the super logic of some of these. I think someone just comes up with something and they're like, how about this? Sure, why not?
I look forward to our conversation about talismans. I know.
Yeah.
So you did touch on the upcoming update. That's next week.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Exciting.
looking forward to it. I guess I must say that the event is called Heart of the Savannah. The,
Mhm.
the location is BioServe. That sounds interesting. BioServe location. And
Is it bioserve or bioreserve?
wait, hold on. BioReserve, you are correct. Gosh, I'm getting old here. These eyes can't see without the glasses that much.
Oh
That
my
was
gosh, I can't see anything without my glasses.
that's it. A stunning new location to explore, the BioReserve, along with new beautiful avatars, and that's this coming August 13th. So I'll put those up so that people can get a sneak peek. And is there anything else you'd like to say in closing, Catherine?
Oh, just thank you again for this delightful conversation. I love talking to you. You ask the best questions and you really I have so much fun going through and answering and filling out your questions. It just makes me think about things, makes me think about my answers again. Like I'm not a frivolous person at all. So, it's like, oh, like homework. All right, this is awesome. Secret Service homework. Anyway, and just really very honored that you include me in these and just hope we get to keep doing them.
You, Catherine. I look forward to your interview with Seeker's Notes.
Oh, thank you.
So, once again, this is Catherine from the wonderful community on Facebook where she's posted her rankings list. If you haven't seen it, you can definitely take a view. I think what I'll do is I'll post a link to her rankings list in this video's description again. But thanks again, Catherine, for joining us. And it's always a pleasure having your thoughtful perspective and your deep love for the game on the show. Also, the community, the Facebook community. I know you're very active there. And to
Thank you.
everyone, you're welcome. And to everyone who's tuned in, thank you for spending part of your day with us. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about the art gallery, the new treehouse, or even Catherine's whiskey pick? And of course, let us know what topics or guests you'd like to see featured in future episodes. Until next time, everyone, have fun seeking in Darkwood. Bye, Catherine.
Bye-bye.
Take care.